Welcome to Extra Time with me, Gary James, and joining us on the show, former professional footballer Pat Wright. Pat, welcome.
Pleased to meet you.
Thanks for coming on. Thanks for taking the time out of what I know you're a busy guy. Let's take you right back to your early days as a footballer. When did you first start playing football, and who was your first team?
I started kicking a ball at 5 years of age.
Yeah.
All my uncles were footballers, and there was always a football around. And so I was literally encouraged, to work. I mean, they were good players, my uncles. And then obviously at school, I represented my school side, St Francis in Albury. I was born in Albury, just off Whalley. Yeah. And then I represented the school select team, and then I progressed into that to the Worcester, the whole of Worcestershire. Oh. And there was only two people who got through the lot. That was me and Robin Stubbs.
Oh, wow.
Who was at the Albury Grammar School, and we both went to Blues at the same time.
Yeah. And that was what, 1957, 58, something like that?
Yeah, we got the cup final. Man City, we, as you know, Bert Troutman broke his neck in that. Peter Murphy went in, and and that was I started as a young boy at Birmingham then.
And who was the manager then, Pat?
Gil Merrick.
Yeah. Pat
Beasley, and just before that, Arthur Turner.
Mm. Okay, and you were a defender, weren't you? You were in old money. You were a fullback.
Yes, I was a fullback.
And from Birmingham, you played a number of games at Birmingham, and then you moved to Shrewsbury, didn't you?
Well, you look at it, Gary, and you think, well, bloody hell, I was working at London Works Barlows, an apprenticeship. I was getting up at 6:30 in the morning, clocking in at 7:30.
Yeah.
Going to St Andrews at 5 o'clock 3 times a week. And they're moaning now, about they're playing too many games. It's a load of codswallop, isn't it? Absolute loads of codswallop.
Yeah, because people forget.
Couldn't wait to get on the field and play.
Yeah. Because the youngsters forget, don't they, these days, that you guys, back in the...
to work all day.
In the 60s, certainly, that you all had other jobs.
And got into the first team at 19 years of age, nearly as an amateur. They'd only signed me 2 weeks before.
Yeah.
And just before that, West Bromwich Albion made an offer.
Right.
But by then, Blues and the staff were looking after me really well, so my loyalty, really, and everything I learned about the game, there was a load of good people at Birmingham City. The town was thriving. Yeah. You've got Wolves, Albion, Birmingham, Villa, all in the Premier Division, and these people look at it now and they think, oh, we want Villa to go down. What a load, rubbish.
No.
I want Villa to do, I want Blues firstly to get back in the Premier Division, and I'd like to see those days come back. Mm. You know Birmingham, the town was thriving. There was Burton's and Epworth's, and everybody was smart. It was the 1960s, swinging. Yeah. It was a great city. Yeah. It still is a great city. Yeah. And somewhere along the line, somebody's going to buy our club and get back the respect that the Dares and the Wisemans and those people who put their heart and soul into the club.
Yeah, well, of course, Mike Wiseman is there every game. Every game.
But obviously, I knew his dad, Jolly Jack, very well. I used to call him Jolly Jack. Every time you met him, he'd say swinging.
And what were the apprentice days like? What was an average day for a young apprentice at the Blues?
Well, I'm a big mate of Malcolm Page's, and Malcolm played 700 league games, and you got to the ground about 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning. You cleaned all the dressing rooms out. You blacked all the players' shoes and make sure all the jobs are done. You cleared the showers out. You cleaned the toilets out. And by the way, that was a good grounding. Yeah. I go to Blues now and I see these big four-wheel drives and they come out and they can't play. I mean, look at the players that we had at our club.
Yeah, which is...
Trevor Francis.
Yeah. But would you... Knowing the game, because you've been in it for a long time and you're still in the game, would you...
60 years.
Yeah. Well, would you change to play now versus when you played?
Well, obviously, from the point of view of facilities are absolutely very professional. Birmingham, Wasthills, they've got 8 or 9 sides. Yep. They've got an indoor gymnasium. They've got a weight room. They've got a cooler bath that freezes you down and takes the lactic acid out your body. Yeah. It's all become so scientific, but in relation to some of the attitudes of the players, I've got to hold my hand up and say, my day, they were real men.
Yeah.
When you talk about Trevor Smith, you talk about Johnny Watts, you talk about Gil Merrick, you talk about loads of players, you know, Peter Murphy's, you know, they'd get knocks, get up. They're lying down for 10 minutes now, and every time they get a knock.
Yeah. And of course, the pitches you played on, you know.
Well, I went to the Rotherham game last week at St Andrews, and I thought, good, it's like a pre-season.
Yeah.
The pitch was absolutely immaculate.
Yeah.
I mean, the old baseball ground, you put your foot down, and I'm not kidding you, it went over your boot.
Oh.
Nobody liked playing
the
baseball ground.
Yeah.
But St Andrews, you know, special.
Yeah. Well,
it's in your blood.
Take you back to Derby in the baseball ground. Was you playing when Roger Davis was playing?
Roger Davis was signed from non-league Gressley around the time that I was leaving.
Right.
Good man.
Good centre forward, wasn't he?
Lovely
Roger?
man.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we took Richie Barker from Burton. You know, Cloughie'd go around and nick him out, you know, non-league.
Well, that's what I'm coming up to now. Is you worked for Cloughie. What was he like? Because we know he's a great manager, a great man manager as well. What was he like?
Very, very strong disciplinarian.
Yeah.
If he said have a shave, we're going away. If he said put your shirt inside your socks, roll your socks off.
Yeah.
You did as you were told.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you didn't do as you were told, the highway.
and you played under
but
him.
He was passionate about playing the ball. I was a fullback. If you played, because he was a fullback, playing the ball up to the fullback, not up his head so the big 6 foot centre half can knock it straight down to his own midfield and they're on attack. But you've got to drop it in, you've got to drive it in, you've got to curve it in, you know. And Donaldson, to be fair, gets great service from caddies.
Yeah.
And I admire Caddies because he plays great balls.
Caddy's a great player, a good asset to Blues.
Yeah.
But you were telling me when you played for Cloughie, you didn't realise that you were a player, but he also got you as a bit of a coach, hasn't he?
Well, I went there and I was a bit unlucky because I had a knee injury, and a lad called Ronnie Webster was a good player, and I was in and out, you know. And unknown to me, Peter Taylor says we need him, and Jimmy Gordon. I've been to Lillishall for many years and learned how to organise, learn how to progress coaching sessions, learn how to motivate psychology, eating, sleeping right, doing everything right, you know.
Yeah.
Not going out and being caught in a nightclub at 4 o'clock in the morning and not thinking that somebody's going to be doing that.
Yeah.
Because that's what's happening now, isn't it?
Well, it's social media now, isn't it? It's changed.
His standards were absolutely superb.
Yeah.
But obviously at the end of the day, the way he finished up was sad.
It very, very much so. Very much.
Very sad.
And also another great manager you played for and worked with, Don Revie.
Don Revie was different to Brian. Brian was, in his own ways, his standards were absolutely spot on. I mean, for instance, they all criticised Don Revie when he brought out a 12-page brochure on every aspect of, we're playing Everton next week, the goalkeeper, weak on his left-hand side, you know, and too clever on crosses neither, fullback, bit slow on the turn. He'd got a 12-page report, and they all laughed at him.
Yeah.
They've all got the laptops now.
Well, we watch the games back and everything.
Data, statistics.
Yeah.
Got everything about the player.
Yeah.
You know, you can find out. You can pick up the phone and or put the internet on and whatever, and you can do a due diligence on your own before talking to the club.
And coming up a little bit up to date. I mean, when did you finish playing and going to coaching?
Well, I went to my career was Birmingham for 5 years, Shrewsbury Town 5 years, club captain. We had some tremendous cup rides. We actually played Leeds in the 6th round, and they were lucky to beat us. And the year before that, we played Chelsea, so I played 14 cup ties in 2 years. And I worked out that was more than Bobby Moore because they got knocked out in the 3rd round every round over 10 years. But I met Bobby Moore in Dubai, and what a lovely man he was, you know, such a humble man. And, you know, when you look at him, say he couldn't head the ball, couldn't tackle, but what he could do, he could read every situation half an hour before the other. He was there and doing it, you know. Got the ball away. The famous tackle on Pelly.
That was that's like the Banks' save from Pelly's head, isn't it? It's the famous.
So I went Birmingham, Shrewsbury, Derby, Rotherham. I took on Waterlooville, which was semi-pro side, and they said it's on a youth system. If you finish halfway up the league, you know, it'll be all right. I thought, I netted a great group of lads. We won the league, And who finished second to us? Maidstone United. And who was managing Maidstone United? The current England manager, Mr. Hodgson.
Mr. Hodgson.
Every time I see him, that's second to me.
Oh, that's lovely. Listen,
his language is
it
not very...
He can speak a few languages as well. Listen, Pat, we're going to talk more in a minute, but for now it's coming up. We're going to take a break. If you'd like to contact the show, please email extratime@bigcentre.tv. Please tell us about the sports that you play. If any suggestions for guests that you'd like to see on the sofa. Be it from football, from cricket, from tennis, from golf, whatever the sport is, and we'll do our best to get them on. But for now, we'll see you in a couple of minutes. It's half time on Extra Time. And welcome back, and hello if you're just joining us. This is Extra Time with me, Gary James, and guest, former professional footballer Pat Wright. So Pat, you finished playing, as we were saying, and then you got into coaching, and you started off one of the first, what are now known as academies, didn't you, back in the 80s?
Yes, I did, because Alan Wade, who was the director of football at the Football Association, rang me one day and said, look, Pat, this is quite an interesting job. He says, Waterlooville are in the Southern League South, and they want a manager, but it's all going to be a feeder to Portsmouth FC, which was a very famous club, and got great heritage, and they've won the cup 6 or 7 times, like the Villa, And he said, but you'll work with Ron Tyndall, who was the ex-West Ham player and also a Surrey cricketer, in the week, and 2 nights a week you'll coach Waterlooville and play for them on the Saturday. Fantastic. So at the end of that season, as I mentioned previously, we grafted and we worked, and they used to come in Sundays. What a great bunch of lads, part-time players. And I knew what it was like, because I worked all day from 15 to 21 when I was at Birmingham, and then had to go and train like a dog under somebody like Ken Fish, who was but what a fantastic man, and fitness is so important to any sport, never mind football. So that was the start of basically an association with a league club, and we got a lad called through, Mickey Mellors through, who played for the club, and there was another one, little Kimmy Davies. We got 2 or 3 players through, and by the time then, I took on the reserves and been made chief coach. So the coaching side, we'd won the league, we won the Hampshire Cup, we won the Southern League Cup, put 3 cups on the table. Then I took the reserves and we won the midweek league, and then we won the league itself. So I put 5 cups on the table. So the chairman of Portsmouth gave me a call and said, we'd like you to join us full time as head coach. But the work I'd grafted and work to do, and he gave me a rise in wages. Percy Collett was a real estate man. He was a lovely, lovely man. And so I took the reserves, as I said, and we won the reserve league. And then Ron promoted to chief coach, and I remember coming to Birmingham and beating Birmingham 1-0. Big Joe Gallagher was playing centre half, and we got a little striker. I said, look, whatever you do, because we watched them at Tottenham, Birmingham at Tottenham. Don't play balls up in there, elite them up. So we played them in short, come off him, we won 1-0. I crept away from the ground a little bit, like,
been a bit of a Blues fan, and playing for him.
I was, well, I still am. And it's as I said before, Blues are deeply in my heart. I'm passionate about anything about the Blues, because the grounding they gave me as a player in standards, discipline, respect, and you've got to work hard, son, all started with me at Birmingham City.
And so you started then your own actual academy back up here in the Midlands.
No, what happened there, as happened very often in football, after 5 years I got the sack. Ian St John brought his mate in, who was clueless, and he lasted about 5 minutes. But Ian was a nice man, absolutely fantastic player, wanted his own man in. During that time, Jimmy Hill was asked by the Saudi Arabian FA, could he develop their national sides and look at the league structure in Saudi Arabia. So I'm sitting at home and had a call from Cape Town City.
Right.
And they wanted me to go to Cape Town City. And then I had another call from Zambia. The job's yours. Alan Wade's given you. But I thought I was 3 months away from home. And then I came back for 10, 15 days. So I thought, I'll try, see what it is. So I went to Saudi. But Jimmy Hill was at Coventry City as chairman.
Yes, yeah.
And Jimmy developed, and the British coaches did a fantastic job in Saudi Arabia, under 16 level, under 19 level. And I was with Bill McGarry.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Initially, he was assistant manager. And the second manager I had was Ronnie Allen, who was one of my heroes.
Of course, he was manager of the Baggies, wasn't it?
Manager of the Baggies,
yeah.
And he was manager with us. And I remember as a kid being shoved down the bottom on the red grass. And Ronnie, technically a superb player, Ronnie, could play the ball anywhere, like, you know. And so it was a great experience. We upgraded the status of the teams. We organised the leagues. We got youth systems going. And Jimmy Hill did a fantastic job out there, as did the managers, and as did the British coaches. I think they finished in the semi-final, quarterfinals of the Asian youth competition.
Right.
Bear in mind, we went to Iraq, Iran, and they've got two superb sides. Kuwait, Bahrain, not so good. But we lifted the football of Saudi Arabia in 3 years. I was in Baghdad, of all places, and my first experience, they'd put all the teams in an hotel. So who walked in was Saddam Hussein. And you've got guns here, guns there, and I thought, I don't fancy this, like, but I think he was basically saying to the Iraqis, if you don't win, I'm going to shoot the lot of you. Any road, we got a draw. We got a draw, and we're lucky to get out of the building. But, you know, being in that place, you know, and during that time, UAE, United Arab Emirates in Dubai, Don Revie was managing the national team. So I knocked on his door, young coach. Can you advise me about directors? Can you advise me about problem players? Can you teach me anything about football? I said, I only want 15 minutes of your time. 2 hours later, I was still in there. So the contract in Saudi finished, 76 to 79. I went home, I'm running through Red House Park, keeping myself fit. I came back and my wife Elizabeth said, Don Revie's phone from Dubai. So I phoned him up. He said, I'd like to offer you either the assistant manager's job with me with the national team, or I want you to be a regional coach, which will cover all the league. So it's fair enough. So he flew me out to the Hyatt Regency in Dubai, with fantastic hotel, put me up for 2 or 3 days, had tremendous talks, and he said, I want you to come. He said, I like the way you go about things. He said, I've a good report from Jimmy Hill and Bill McGarry. I said, well, Mr. Revie, I don't want the regional job. I want to work with you. Because I thought, once again, it's going to increase my knowledge. Yeah. And I picked his brains every day, you know. Unfortunately, he died in a horrible way, that Moutinho Ramdi. But he had a brilliant football brain, you know, and his attention to detail in everything. Players, hotels. If the bus was 5 minutes late, because we used to get off and walk, stretch your legs on the wrong... He'd go mad, you know, he was absolutely spot on like that. And at that time, when he was at Leeds United, he devised an insurance scheme for all the players, the Bremners, the Gileses. Their insurance policy looked after them for the rest of their life. Oh. So he was like a father to him, like to Billy Bremner.
Make sure they were all right.
And Gilesy and Alan Clark, who was a local lad. And well, I mean, they had a great team, didn't they? Yeah. Big Jack Charlton. Yeah, they did. Norman Hunter, bite your legs. Yeah. So it concluded, they offered me the job, so we went there and we beat Benfica. John Mortimer bought Benfica, the old Southampton manager, and we beat them 1-0. And we'd been to Sweden to train. Yeah. And we trained really hard, like, and we were super fit. And we played the Brazilian national team. We beat the Brazilian national team. So once again, we were upgrading the national development of UAE, United Arab Emirates. And it was a fantastic time. During that period, funny old life, the Maktoums, who owned all the races, you know, the race courses, they phoned up Don Revie and said, well, we don't know what your position is at UAE, but we would very much like you to take over Al Nassr, which was a big club in Dubai. An Arsenal of Dubai, if you like. So he turned them down initially, but we were doing well with the national team. They were looking after us quite well. But he come to me the one day and says, look, my biggest pleasure is working day to day. With national teams, you work with them for three days. You don't see them again for another month. So we had a meeting with Sheikh Mana, and we got there, and they were down, and we had to bring foreign players in, a couple of Sudanese, and we finished second. We lost the league by 1 point. So we'd done well there. So consequently, that came to an end.
Yeah.
And that's when I thought about setting up my own academies.
And time's going to beat us, but we're going to get you back on again. But for now, you've still got your academy going now.
Yes.
You're still looking after some players. You're still doing it. And I know there's some players that are at like
any player who comes across from this interview who wants a one-on-one, or wants advice, or wants place in the clubs, or wants to come to my Friday academy.
We can do it.
I know you're leaving the.
Yeah, what we'll
You'll
do.
ask him to ring you, won't you?
Yeah, please. Yeah, I mean, and thank you for coming in. It's been a
Pleasure.
pleasure. We'll get you on again because there's more to talk about. I know.
Well, there's another life story.
Yeah, there is, and it's brilliant. I really appreciate you coming in.
Pleasure.
Many thanks to Pat Wright, and we'll get Pat on again. And as Pat said, if you contact us here at Extra Time, it's Extra Time at bigcentre.tv. Contact us. I've got Pat's details. If you'd like to find out more about his academy and what he can do, get in touch. See you soon. Bye-bye.